Hello, grade 7. Welcome to another session of our learning on the Indonesian ancient kingdom period. Our first kingdom is, as you remember, the Kutai kingdom, as we work through the most famous, the first Hindu and the first Muslim kingdom. And so we start with the Kutai kingdom. Who was the first king and who was the most famous? I think we go back to this one. Remember in the last video we finished with talking about where it was located. In East Kalimantan, the province along a river, and we talked about why a river would be strategic. For food, for water, for natural defenses, for the economy, transportation, those kinds of things. So you can go to a previous video to look at that. But continuing on with this, our next slide, we go to who is the first king, who was the most famous king. Now remember, we're focusing on these questions to guide our research because you need to have a purpose. While you're going through history, you need to know what are you trying to answer or prove. Otherwise, you will just be aimlessly walking around or through the different things. So the first king, and I'm so sorry if I get this wrong, but the first king was Kedung, and the most famous king was Mula Warma, the grandson of Kedunga, the first king. Now, I have a story about the first king, Kedunga. Kedunga, one second. Kedunga, So Kedunga was the most famous king, was the grandson of Mula Warma, and Kedunga, I'm not even going to continue. Just wait. I think we talk about it later. When did it start? When did it fall? So I always believed that the kingdom started around the 400 AD and fell apart in around the 500 AD, the 400 years after Jesus, 500 years. So we're on the other side of the birth of Jesus. But remember, the reason why we don't have exact dates is because Indonesia at the time wasn't operating on this era of 400s and 500s AD. As I look in my notes, the 400, 500 AD, there's no specific dates. They try to match events from those yupas, right? Those stones that had the writing of their history on it. With other events that have happened, that was battles, other kingdoms, and then use those to match it with other things where we know the specific dates. And so, how many years before, how many years after, when did the first foreign traders come? Marco Polo. We'll talk about Marco Polo next quarter. But, so when did it fall? When did it rise? We know that the length of the period based off of those yuppies. And there's no written record about the fall of the kingdom. And the reason for that, and I know I'm not doing a very good job of this, but it rises and it falls. Every kingdom has its end. Indonesia had its beginning about 70, 75 years ago. And one day Indonesia is going to stop being a country. It happens to everyone. The U.S., Canada's going to have it too. I know the Great White North probably won't last forever. But there's no written record of how the kingdom fell, and there's a specific reason for that, there's an assumed reason for it, is when kingdoms fall, they usually don't have anyone to tell the story, right? We have many ancient records of the people who win the victories and end other kingdoms' existences, but we have very few records from ancient times of what it was like for the people who were conquered, right? We do in the Bible, and the Israelites in Judea as they were conquered, and a few others. But as a rule of thumb, most times when a kingdom falls, you only get the story as written by the victors. And if the victors didn't write the story, there's no way to know. And especially during this period in history and in the location where writing was very primitive, pictographic. I know they use the ancient Javanese language to write down this kingdom's history, but it wasn't a time of great where they were writing down things. It was just a time of battling, conquered, those kinds of things. And so there's a pretty good reason for not knowing why it fell or how it fell, but it's usually assumed to the hands of another kingdom. Now, theories behind Hinduism and Buddhism in Indonesia. And so there was, this is obviously the first Hindu kingdom that we will be studying. The reason why we're studying Hinduism and Muslim is because they shaped the culture. They were the first kingdoms, really major religions to come from India and through the Silk Road and trading along the coast with other people. Some Hinduism spread, Hinduism and Buddhism, they assume came through either type of Hindu missionary type things where they would come as Hindus to a new land, they would build a temple and they would marry and their children would be their Hindus, and it would just start through that. They also believe, and remember I'm reading from my notes here, that the warriors, so the Hinduism was spread by force. So as the kingdoms grew, or as boats came with people with swords that were bigger than the other side, they forced Hinduism upon populations through, whether that's through mandates legally, through the laws of the land, or through a sword, warriors. There was traders that came, I forget the name, they are called Vaishya traders. They came through Indonesia trading wood, spices, all these other things. And as the trading lanes came, just like in ancient Greece, ancient Rome, all those things, as you trade, ideas are going back and forth as well. Ancient China, the Silk Road. And that's what's happening here as well. They see it coming through through trade. Ideas, people come on boats, they share their ideas with other people. People settle in the ports, and so ideas and religions spread. And so we see this Hindu-Buddhist society being a part of this history. And so this is, of course, the one that Ibu Riska shared with us. But just gonna move my fence for you. There is the society, so the caste system. If you remember our simulation about Greek system of life and kings and merchants and everyone, where do they fit? There's a similar system to the Hindu caste system as in ancient China. Hinduism, Buddhism share a lot when it comes to structure. And so at the very top of this Hindu caste system, there's the priests and the scholars. Now you can become a priest, you can become a scholar, warrior, ruler, aren't above the priest, the scholar, or I guess we probably call them monks more, but they're part of the pure caste. There's this system of people having worth and value, farmers and laborers at the bottom, people who artisans, merchants, traders in the middle. But there was a system where there were people who were untouchables. And so those people you couldn't interact with, you didn't want their life, you didn't want to be them. So that's that caste system. You'll need to know the order of them. And that is what manipulated and shaped the culture at this time. How do we know this? We can study Hinduism and assume that it was applied there. The difference between Hinduism and Buddhism. Now, there's a lot of Buddhist temples in Bali, right, if you've ever gone there. But what is a Hindu temple? Where do we see its footprint, its fingerprints in our country of Indonesia? So, evident from the temples by the way they're built. You can tell a Hindu temple from a Buddhist temple based off of how it's built. Any guesses on this one versus this one? Which one is Hindu? Which one is Buddhist? Dun, da, da, da. Better check my notes so I don't get this wrong. A Hindu temple is built different people, right? There's different eras. Buddhism, Hinduism. Let me see here. Hindu is going first. Hindu. Oh, the first one is Buddha. That one is a Hindu temple. I think I've been to that one actually. And the second one is a Buddhist temple, and that one is called, oh man, I still can't figure that one out. Anyways, those are it. We're not doing this bell ringer. Oh, actually we are. Take time to read these questions, pause the video, read them, answer these in your notes. I will collect your reflection questions. Oh, we'll go back, pause that, pause it here, answer these questions before we move on to more about Oh, we're going to the Majapahit kingdom. Okay. I think I missed a very important story. Okay, we're going back. We're going back. All the way to the first king. Where was it located? Greatest king. Where was it located? East Kalimantan province. Here. Who is the greatest king? Now, there's a very interesting story. The first king was Kedung. Okay. And Kedung's dad was... So Kedung... the first king was Kedunga, and the most famous king was Malawarma, the grandson of Kedunga. Now, Kedunga became first king. I think Kedunga conquered the land. He was the first, technically he was the first king, but after he became king, because of the Hindu culture, he conquered and established his rule. His dad became king, because you can't be ruler over your father. And so that's one of the stories from there. Very interesting. I know, I'm sorry, we're struggling. I like the Majapahit because I like saying that name. Reflection questions, we did that. Next, number 2 in your notes. Please write down Majapahit kingdom. This is our next one. And this is the greatest kingdom from Indonesian history. Reached the farthest. It's the most well known. Except for, if you're me, I would say the Bali kingdom. The kingdom of Bali. Because I like going to Bali. Is my favorite. Farthest reaching. So we, again, look at our questions. Focusing on answering these ones. What are the artifacts that prove the existence of the kingdom? What were its greatest achievements? Who was the first king? Who was the greatest king? Where was it located? How far was its reach? And why was it so powerful? When was it started? When did it fall? Why did it fall? How did it fall? Okay, I gotta move myself here. Okay, what are the artifacts that prove the existence of the kingdom, and what is its greatest achievement? Bum-ba-da-da. As you know, 2 books. This one is hard to say. The Nagarakartagama by Mpapur Apancha. This is usually when I would have you guys reading the slides so you could say them out loud to me. And then the Sutasoma by the Mupa Tantular. These are the proof of it. They are written documents from the time made out of tree leaves. So you can see the tree. I think we have some of these growing on campus. But basically what they would do is they would dry these leaves out, put them in slits as you can see them growing, write a little bit on there, put a string through it, and instead of reading a book by flipping the pages, you just read it through by flipping almost like flashcards back and forth as you read. And so artifacts, there's 2 different authors. They tell of the stories of the kingdoms and the things of old. This kingdom probably has had the most influence on national symbols, boundaries for Indonesia and the Malaysia. A lot of how you know Indonesia right now was formed during this time, and actually by the next kingdom we're going to study as well. But 2 books. So this is a temple that was built. I think it was a Hindu kingdom as well. But the Pantara temple, as you can see, Ibu Riska is sitting there so nicely. So when you have class with her, show her this picture and say, wow, you're a rock star. It's in East Java. Ibu Riska has been there. It is also the place where the Majapahit kingdom started. So the symbol for our country is Indonesia is taken from this book. Oh, we go back. These books, the symbol of like that eagle, you see it in every classroom. Diversity through strength, or strength through diversity. That one up there, that symbol is actually coming out of this book, or out of these books. I think the saying as well. But unity in diversity. These are called Sanscripts. They have information on there about our kingdom, or the Indonesian kingdom. This is the temple. Ibu Riska is there. Oh, this is the symbol. Man, why did I go back? So this symbol is found in the book. We have 20 seconds left. The Sora Majapahit, the symbol of Majapahit. Hinduism, obviously, but supposed to bring unity through diversity. And that's where we're going to end our video because I only have like 5 seconds left. So enjoy taking notes. Be ready for your quiz on this.